And hello there again, RosterWatch Nation. It's your friendly neighborhood trash man. Back with the waiver wire cheat sheet going into week 13 of the NFL season. It's a little bit to go over here. You might say a lot. So let's go ahead and get started. First off, at the running back position, if you haven't guessed it already, right at the very top, um, using up to 30% of your free agent budget are Chuba Hubbard and Alexander Madison. We know that Christian McCaffrey's done for the year. Um, so it's going to be all Chuba. So he's at the very top, and right behind him is Alexander Madison. Dalvin Cook is probably only going to be gone for 2 weeks at most. But we know that Alexander Madison, when he gets full control of the backfield there, he is a running back one. So he's right there behind Hubbard for your playoff push. And a tier below that, we have the likes of Boston Scott in Philadelphia. It looks like Miles Sanders may not go this week, so Scott may be the lead back there in Philadelphia this week. And in that case, well, even when Miles Sanders was in the game this past weekend, Boston Scott was getting worked in. So even if Miles Sanders does play, I think it's a good idea to have Boston Scott on your rosters right now because he is getting a lot of run. Right behind him, I have Jamal Williams of Detroit. Looks like DeAndre Swift will probably not go this week. And so Jamal Williams makes for a strong start, the backfield there. Right behind him, I mean, it's kind of chock full of running back options this week, folks. So hopefully at least a couple of them are available on your rosters. Right behind Jamal Williams, you have Dante Foreman and Dontrell Hilliard, both of the Titans. I mean, they both went over 100 yards this past weekend. And I think to take the place of a Derrick Henry and to continue to run the ball like you have Derrick Henry, you're going to get opportunities. So I can see both of these guys getting double-digit touches on a weekly basis, and they're both good running backs. So they're right there behind Scott Williams. I mean, it's deep this week. Behind him, we have the likes of Sony Michel, Matt Breida, Tevin Coleman of the Jets. It looks like he is in the lead there in the backfield for the Jets right now with Michael Carter out. And in a tier lower than that, we have the likes of like Rex Burkhead, who is actually getting a lot of touches. I think he got 18 touches this past week in the Texans' backfield. And the Texans' offensive line sucks. But when you're getting that many touches, it's really hard to ignore. So let's move on to the wide receivers. By the way, there are a lot more running backs there on the list, but you're going to have to go to rosterwatch.com to check them out. Let's move on to wide receivers. At the about up to 15% free agent budget, we have Sterling Shepard of the Giants. Shepard, when he's playing for the Giants, he has been the leading receiver in every game he's appeared in this season. So I think he's definitely somebody you want to have going into week 13. Should he play? And I think he will. Behind him, I have Van Jefferson of the Rams. We saw this past weekend, all three Rams receivers had over 80 yards and or a touchdown. Van Jefferson, he might be their deep play receiver, their deep ball receiver. I mean, we know Odell Beckham's capable of those kind of plays, but Van Jefferson, he's really surprised me this season with his versatility. And I like him in fantasy moving forward. And a tier below that, I have the likes of Kendrick Bourne, who scored twice this past weekend. He's kind of up and down. He's got a low floor there for the Patriots, but I think he might end up being the Patriots' lead receiver this season. He's definitely somebody you need on your rosters. Behind him, I have Kenny Goliday, who, he had a decent game this past week in his first action back. We know what potential Kenny Goliday has. We just have to see Daniel Jones, tap into it. Behind him, I have Marquez Valdez-Scantling of the Packers. I'm getting close to double-digit targets in the past two games, and really kind of shaping up to be kind of like to put up wide receiver numbers or better on some weeks. Behind him, I have Nick Westbrook Keane of the Titans. Looks like he might be the Titans' number one receiver for the time being, with all the injuries that have happened to the Titans receiving core. Behind him, we have Josh Reynolds, who in his first game for the Lions looks already like their best receiver. We know that Jared Goff tends to disappoint, but it looks like Josh Reynolds has some juice there. Behind him, I have the likes of like Laviska Shenault, who's getting a lot of targets now that Jamal Agnew is not playing with the Jaguars. Well, he's still on the team, but he's not playing with them. Behind him, Desean Jackson of the Las Vegas Raiders. We saw big plays from Desean Jackson, or one in particular, this past week. And it looks like he could be that guy for the Raiders, whatever that means. Derek Carr doesn't really like to throw deep, but, they're going to have to be a productive offense to stay in these games. So Desean Jackson, he's got some upside there. Some more interesting names back there. Ty Montgomery of the Saints. Quite a few touches this past week. I think he led the team in touches this past week, actually behind Tony Jones at running back, who had, I think, 16 carries and did, and had 27 yards. But Ty Montgomery looks like he could be like a utility player there for the Saints. They're in sore need of playmakers there. And there are a couple more names there on the list, but you need to go to RosterWatch.com to check them out. Tight end, we have Cole Comet of the Bears. Looks like he's really coming into his own there. The Bears need pass catchers, and Cole Komet is producing. And he's getting into the end zone as well. Behind him, Gerald Everett. I prognosticated a few weeks ago whenever Russell Wilson was coming back that Everett might, get an uptick in targets, as Russell Wilson needed a safety blanket, and that offense looks terrible right now. I don't know what's wrong with Russell. I don't know if it's Russell. I don't know if it's the person calling plays. I don't know what's going on with the Seahawks, but Gerald Everett is getting a lot more targets right now. Behind him, I have the likes of James O'Shaughnessy of the Jaguars, Dan Arnold out, and so that puts O'Shaughnessy back in the mix. I don't think he's as good of a pass catcher as Dan Arnold, but he's going to get targets there. Moving on to quarterbacks. At the top of the list, I have Taysom Hill of the Saints. He's getting starter reps this week. And you know how much I love running backs that throw the ball, and Taysom Hill is one of those. We could see a pretty high floor and some decent upside out of Hill moving forward if he is the starter for the Saints. I mean, they just give him a major extension there. They see something that maybe we don't or haven't seen yet, but hopefully we'll see it starting this week. And it's here below that. We have Tua Tagovailoa, who is consistently putting up decent numbers in fantasy now. Behind him, Taylor Heineke, who's getting some, he's starting to get the ball to more of his receivers and not just focusing on Terry McLaurin, to maybe his owner's chagrin. Behind him, the likes of Mac Jones and Daniel Jones. Mac Jones driving that Patriots offense. It seems like the team's just getting better and better every week. And then moving on to defenses. First off, you have the Minnesota Vikings. Behind them, the Miami Dolphins, who are surging as a defense, as a team, really. And then the Kansas City Chiefs, who seem to be putting it together at the right time. Couple more names there on the defensive list, but you got to go to RosterWatch.com to check it out. Anyway, that's most of the waiver wire cheat sheet. Hopefully there's something there that you can use going into week 13, because playoffs are coming soon, y'all. Quicker than you might think. Anyway, this has been the Trash Man on behalf of RosterWatch.com. Until next time, be ready.